Hey, man.
How are you?
Good. How are
I
you?
like it. I love it when you drive
Why?
because I don't have to.
Oh, well, I
I,
drove for 3 years with the Blue Collar Proud Show. I'm kind of enjoying having you driving.
well, all right. Well, I'll go. I'll get back in the driver's seat next week. I promise. It's funny.
How you doing?
I'm tired, but
I
I'm
imagine, man.
okay. Yeah, it's been a crazy week. We're doing a lot of good stuff. It's been a lot of fun though. So yeah, I'm doing a lot of people don't know we're doing video and whatnot, and that's the world I come from. So all
You,
good.
you've been on
It
location,
really
and
is all good. I so enjoy getting to talk to the technicians, getting to talk to the owners, the people in the office. Just um, that's kind of interaction I really do like. I enjoy it. I get a lot out of it. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm not complaining at all. But it's a lot of driving and back and forth. So it's all good. It's
yeah,
all
yeah,
good,
yeah, for sure.
but
Well,
enjoyable.
you're your partner in crime, Jonathan, shooting video. The two of you, I hear, make a pretty good team in the field. So
Yeah, yeah. I wish Mitchell lived a little bit closer. It'd be nice, but he loves Alaska, and I don't think I'm gonna ever be able to get him out of Alaska. So you know, hard to do certain things when you live in Alaska, and we're doing stuff in the down in the southern 48. So it's all good stuff
well,
though.
good
But
deal. Well,
I tell you what, I think this is just gonna be. He's like, laugh out loud. Nope, not going. This is what he said. This is what he said. Nope, he's not going to the lower 48.
yeah. Well,
He
if you've seen the
absolutely
view
loves
from
that.
his back, if you've ever seen the view from his back door, you know why.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. And I don't blame him. I don't blame. It's like getting me, from my house now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I tell you though, I'm excited about what we're talking about today because there's been some really. So I'm maybe give a little background on why I really wanted to cover this. I don't want to cover visuals because now Spark Marketers, all of a sudden, we're doing video and photography and all this stuff. That's not the reason that I wanted to do this. The reason I wanted to do this is Google has made some um, pretty spectacular strides in them being able to now understand photos, especially not necessarily videos yet, but they're getting there. And so I felt like it's really time for us to start having the conversations and saying, okay, what is it that Google specifically is now being able to understand about visuals, and why it's starting to make a bigger difference, and going back a few years and seeing where they were, now where they are, and how all those things are kind of coming together and changing. So I
Not to
think
take it too far back, but do you remember the early days of like CompuServe and AOL Online? Uh, the America Online rather,
yeah.
where I mean, it was dial-up speed. It was text only. An image took forever to download, and so most people just didn't even bother. I mean, it was possible, but the web was text, man. I mean,
Oh
that
yeah.
was that
Yeah,
was the internet,
absolutely. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
in just what that was 94, 95.
Yeah.
So uh, in about 26 years, 25 years now
Mhm.
ish. Um, I mean, visuals are everywhere. Visuals are everything. Video, for crying out loud, like this. I mean, this is live.
Yeah.
This is the web is just a whole different animal than it was in the beginning.
So it's one of the things I'm going to tell a story. It was 1991. I was getting ready to move up here. I had a guy. Actually, I worked at a place called South Coast Film and Video. It's in Houston, Texas. It's still there. Um, had a graphics and animation company. Uh, actually did some work up here in Nashville, Tennessee. So that's one of the reasons I was traveling back and forth. The guy came in and he said, I want to show you guys some stuff because I think this is going to be the future. And we're all like, yeah, whatever. So we sit there and we go through some things, and he shows us some things that NASA was doing at the time. So now, NASA is just south of Houston, if you don't know that, but that's where NASA is. So comes in and he shows us just some things that NASA was doing, some renderings, some drawings. And I mean, it was taking forever for that thing to load. It was like, oh my gosh. And so he showed us that, and he says, I'm going to show you something else. And it was a peep show, but he had the things were covered that should have been covered because he was making a point. He said, there's two things driving this new technology right now. One is high-end technology like NASA, and the other is the porn industry. And so that's really the first introduction I got into what was going to happen eventually with this technology, called the internet, and how much money was being funneled into it at the time. I mean, it was just, billions of dollars, which, I mean, there's trillions now into it. But I don't know back then. I mean, it is so far surpassed what we were told back then was going to be the drivers. I mean, because business now, I think, really drives the internet. I think there's still a lot of porn and crime that drives it as well, especially in the dark web and some of those things that a lot of us don't ever see, that are also there kind of as an underpinning. But who would have thought that we could do something live like this?
Yeah.
Back then. And the real thing, when you start researching it, you don't realize, but images are relatively new, just in the last 5 years. So images, photography, and video, and when I say relatively new, let me explain that they're coming up in search.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, they've been around, they've been there, but Google's only made space for them in search since this kind of strange kind of a survey they did with about 1,600 people. And because they learned so much in the survey, they started making a lot more space in search for photography, for photos, and video.
Not only that, you couple it with what's going on in the world of artificial intelligence, and Google uses it heavily. I mean, they're incredibly invested in AI, not just in advancing AI's capabilities, but in using it in the business applications of its own business. And so image recognition is one of the things that artificial intelligence seems to excel at. And Google is just feeding it, like it's a starving little monster over there. I mean, it's just giving it images and images and images and letting it crunch through all of that and learn from one of the largest data sets in the known universe. I mean, it's just incredible how much imagery and video there is for it to crunch on and process. And as a result, it's made the visual web it's brought it much closer in terms of the ability for the web to be a communications platform that's primarily driven by visuals.
Yeah, and I don't think people realize not only what Google has put into the visuals, but what they are going to be putting into them as well. So let's talk a little bit. I know we have some things to go on, and there's a lot here, but I just want to set up some of the stuff that's going on. 3 years ago, Google, Facebook, Apple, Twitter, all of them, Instagram, the whole 9 yards, they were kind of sort of cooperating with each other. Helping each other build. They kind of had their own kind of niche thing kind of out, and then they, one did this, one did that, and over time, it looked like it was going to be this cooperative deal that if you were on Facebook, you'd show up on Google. If you were, Google was happy and everybody was like having I don't know, was having a party, a little tea party, and everybody was happy. Well, the last year to 18 months, that's blown up. And so now they're all really competing with each other. I mean, and openly competing with each other. You have that. You have coupled with the privacy issues. You have coupled with some of the unrest that's going on in the world. You have coupled that with what's going on with ads, all the fake news that's come out everywhere. And now they're all kind of grappling and pointing. It's like this. Everybody's pointing fingers at the other one and saying it's them, it's there. But they're all kind of grappling to figure out where their footing is a little bit. And part of what they're grappling with is they're actually getting in each other's territory. So where Facebook and other social platforms, Pinterest, Instagram, were really highly visual, I think Google has caught on and said, wait, that works. We need to be more visual. We need to be more highly visual. We need to be looking at those things. And where I see it more than anywhere else is in the ad platforms. I mean, it's amazing to me that in all the ad platforms, Facebook is actually starting to be a little bit more text driven in certain ways, where Instagram is as well. And then you've got TikTok that's taken this market share over into these short videos, and I mean, it's just a thing. And so they're just all over the place. And so the space is blown up. And one of the ways that it's blown up is in photos and videos. They're all clamoring, if you will. That is that a good word?
Yeah, no,
that's the word that keeps coming to mind. They're all clamoring for attention. They're clamoring for our attention. Is really what they're doing.
That's it.
Yeah.
And visuals, it appeals to probably the largest segment of the population. Certainly, it doesn't, appeal to everyone, but the vast majority of human beings are sighted individuals, and visuals are a way of reaching them and doing. I mean, a visual, the way that the brain works. If this is a real quick dip your toes in the fertile waters of neurobiology here, but that's the brain sees an image and it fires off immediately. I mean, just in all parts of the brain, it processes that image so quickly, it's unreal. Whereas the written word and the spoken word take just a little bit longer for the brain. It takes, and by a little bit longer, what I mean is it takes a little more effort, a little more energy for the brain to process that into something meaningful. Oftentimes, it'll process it into something more meaningful than just images alone when it's written, but not always. And images are disruptive. They catch your attention like words hardly can. You can recognize a picture of something out of the corner of your eye, whereas you can't read the text until you actually turn your attention from whatever you're looking at, to the text on the page and start diligently reading it with the intent of understanding. So, images are just, there's no wonder that in the short attention span economy that we're in now, where human beings give you less than 2 seconds before they've made up their mind and moved on, that images are the way that these businesses are focused on trying to optimize for our attention.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the bottom line. And so, this is really to tell you where Google is, because we need to know where Google is, because that's what we're all on. I mean, Google has always been the 800-pound gorilla in the room that kind of controls still over 90% of search, even though they've got people think DuckDuckGo and some of these other ones are competition, but they're just not, at least not yet.
Yeah.
They won't be, but they're just not.
Yeah.
So, the reality is Google is crafting images. I mean, they're doing this for both the user and for Google. And when I say that, the images for the user, it's the same thing as we say about websites. What we see on the website and what Google reads underneath the code, two different things. It's the same deal. Google is still wanting you to craft images and use alt text and do the things to help them understand it. But AI, for the most part, is starting to understand way more than we ever thought. Now, with that said, please do remember that, AI, if it takes them 7 hours to figure out a picture of a cat, you can ask an average 2-year-old what that picture is, and they'll say, oh, point to it and say cat. So is it still going to compete with the human brain? No, I don't think so. But it's what we rely on to read and recognize. So if it has to chew on something to understand what something is, then we have to give it the best, to our best ability, as much knowledge as possible so that it can understand what it is. So hopefully I've made sense there.
Yeah, it presents a real opportunity to businesses. I mean, to think about how Google is starting to use images and to do a better job of creating those images that are interesting both to their customers as well as informative for Google, which is why we're in the game, right? I mean, we're a marketing company, so that's why we're even talking about this. Is how do we optimize? How do we take advantage of that? How do we craft better images that Google likes and users appreciate as well? And so, how do we use this to drive the marketing efforts of our clients? But it's never the same thing, right? Google hasn't decided, like, written some scientific paper that will never change. These are immutable laws of the universe and will always be forevermore. I mean, it's in a constant state of testing and fluctuation and change. And Google is, looking for better ways. I mean, looking for, and its own optimization. It's constantly changing and moving the bar and trying this and trying that, testing the results, seeing how people respond to the search results to see what's working and performing well, and whether or not their users are getting the information that they want.
And we're the guinea pigs, so as they test all these things, they're looking to see the results of how we react to them, how we interact with them, what we do with them, all those kind of things. I mean, we are the ultimate guinea pig here. And they are going to continue testing. It's what they've always done. The reality is, back in 2017, it was still a totally text-based system. The whole homepage was text. Then all of a sudden in 2017, they do a survey in March. And guess what started happening in April from this survey? They do this survey and then come to find out, oh yeah, great, we need to have images. So they started making space right after that, especially in the local pack where images really make a difference. So think of it this way. 5 years ago, if you were looking for a pizza parlor, all you would get were the listings of the pizza parlors. Now you look for a pizza parlor, then every pizza parlor that comes up has a carousel that shows what their pizzas look like.
Yeah. I mean, there are certain searches online that you don't even have to click on the images tab at the top of Google in order to see pictures. Google just knows it's harder to understand the topic unless you're seeing the images and as part of the information that we're showing you. And so they've moved images there that help you decide what is the most appropriate thing, return for your search results. So it's really getting good at it. But has it changed the look and feel, and with that, the opportunities.
Yeah. And so, and the real opportunity, probably 2 years ago, it really, even right before the pandemic, we were having a conversation talking about devices. Are people, are they still using devices? Are they still using their desktop? Are they using their phones? Are they using iPads? And right before the pandemic, it was funny because you would think that they would be using their iPhones more than their desktop, and they weren't. But during the pandemic, I swear, I think everybody started watching TV and thumbing through their phones because there was this huge shift that people started using their phones in a greater way while we were all sitting at home. I mean, explain that. That's the only thing I can explain because that seemed to be the behavior of my wife and I. We would see something on TV and go, "Oh, well, let's look at that up. Oh, that looked good. Let's see what that is." And we're both on our phones trying to find the order. And Marilyn's ordering, Amazon and food, and I mean, it was crazy. But when I step back from that, it makes no sense because you would think as we are on the go that we would be using our phones. But I think we've got habitual about our phones, sitting home on our phones. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it's an interesting observation. So let's talk a little bit about.
And I say that because pictures are on mobile a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And that, in fact, Google has a whole different algorithm for mobile images and showing those in search results too.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about where we're Google putting images, right? I mean, it's not just the local pack, but it definitely is the local pack. I mean, we're seeing more images there. We're seeing pictures of not only of the business, but of the business's products, whether it's food or pictures of happy customers or whatever. They're all showing up in the local pack. So, but it's not just there. There's a new, I don't know how new it is, but the ability to find places that you want to go to based on photos.
Right.
Can you explain how that works? Because I haven't seen it in the wild.
Well, it's basically it's just a feature, and I don't even know. I have to look again because I didn't. It's on your phone. If you go to Google, hold on just a minute. Let me type something in.
Okay, search by photos is what it used to be called.
It used to be search by photos. So if I go here and I'm searching by photos, I've just put in restaurants near me. Up at the top, you've got all and every one of the restaurants that come up has a photo beside it. You can go maps and it'll map out those photos. You can book things, books you can get. Now books come up. So images, when you go into images, then it just gives you tons of images right there. So if you want to find the ambiance, the atmosphere that you're looking for above the food and the stars and all that, you can just go into image search right there on your phone. But you also have videos. So, this is something that hasn't come up. So let me just do this. So I am going to type in plumber. See, I'm just doing this on the fly. Plumber near me. Plumber to install a dishwasher. Yep, videos come up. Look at this. So video, I don't know if you can see this. Videos come up on how plumbers that'll come install. Images. There's images. There's all the plumber images that come up. So, I mean, if you don't have images associated with your business, videos associated with your business, then, you're not going to come up there. And more people are actually going to those things. It's just wild. So how do you set up things in order to create the opportunity to get looked at in images and videos? Well, where are they pulling them from? There's a number of places they pull them from. And this is a little bit different than we've had before. I don't even know. I don't know where that is or whatever. So they're the multiple image sources. So they're getting it from your website. Of course, they own YouTube. So if you got images up, so you're looking at YouTube, that's a place where they can have. They get them from all kinds of searches that you're maybe on Facebook, any place on the website that you can have a video or an image they can pull it from. And one of those places is Google Business Profile. So Google owns Google Business Profile. They own YouTube. So to me, that's the two first places I would make sure I had some images and good videos, are those two places. After that, I make sure I got them on my website because that will be pulled up.
Yeah.
So those are to me are the top three. Facebook, Instagram. Yes, do you need them there? Absolutely, because there are people looking for you over there as well. But as far as Google searches, to me, they're not going to pull them there. But I think they're going to look at their own properties first.
Yeah, but they have access to quite a bit. I mean, they crawl websites. I mean, that's what they do, is to understand the content of websites. And the more images you have on your website, the more Google indexes those images and may show them in search results to people who are looking for the content on your webpage. So, I mean, it's all fair game. I mean, it's all published publicly. So Google is not doing anything. It's not revealing things that you don't want revealed. It's saying, hey, this was on a public page that anyone can go to. We're just helping the customer find it quicker by showing the image from your site in our search results. And it works,
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. But here's the thing about the image. So for the longest time, and I was correct in saying this because this is what was going on, we were saying having really good as high res as your phone can do, that's great. I'm changing that. I'm changing it because Google has said that they want really high res identifiable photography that their AI can recognize. So, which I think this is kind of funny. We can recognize a really low res, easy recognizable photograph. As people, we can look at that and say, yep, that's a cat. But if that cat is kind of hidden back into something and the AI can't quite make it out as well as a human brain can, then we need to make sure and bring that forward to make sure that AI that Google is using can recognize it as a cat. So part of that is using the alt text and the alt image and the alt text in there that's saying this is a cat. So if you look at, we were just recently flying a drone over and looking down into a chimney where there were a couple of guys down there actually working on the frame with water damage and laying the pipe coming back up. I was thinking about that when I saw that picture of thinking, that's interesting, because I don't think Google's AI will know what that is, even though this is a very high res defined picture and video. So you absolutely have to use the alt text to describe what this is. So if the AI doesn't pick it up visually, it can pick it up in the alt text. And that's really, really important. But Google wants it to get so good that you don't even have to use the alt text anymore.
Yeah. But right now, I mean, it is important. So we've just got a minute left. So let me just really quickly run through this. I mean, why are we talking about this? Like, right, what does it even matter? I want to give you two reasons why it matters. First is, in some cases, 90% of a business's high intent leads come directly from the Google local results. Okay, so if you're a local business, a service business, it matters that you're giving customers something that they can connect with. And right now it presents an opportunity because there aren't a lot of service businesses using images very well and optimizing their Google business profiles in ways that those images show up. And it's disruptive. Like we said, it grabs attention. It grabs attention faster than the other results that don't have images. So optimizing your listing with images becomes a really good way to distinguish yourself and not just play the ranking game, but using images as a way to really highlight yourself, showcase yourself. The last thing is to control your brand. Why does it matter? because Google has got AI that's deciding for people what this image is about. They're making decisions about whether or not to show your business assets, your images, and your website to people who are searching. You don't control the brand. You don't control your own brand. Google is starting to control that for you by putting more images out there, by using alt tags like Taylor's talking about. You have the opportunity to help Google understand what your images are about and why they're relevant to the people who are searching for them. Alt tags are a great place for those keywords that help Google understand how this image relates to somebody who's searching that keyword. So using those intelligently and strategically really does start to make a difference. So those are the two practical takeaways, right? Like if you don't get anything else from this, the real opportunity here is to work alongside Google to optimize things in a way that gets you seen more often and by customers who are ready to buy, who are ready to work with you.
But here's the thing that I want everybody to understand. Getting images and videos is the number one challenge we have as an agency. Getting really high-res photography, photographs, and really good video. We can't hardly get, heck, I can't hardly get a bad picture. I mean, that's the truth. And most home service businesses aren't taking really good photography. They're not investing in that piece. And I think it's a great opportunity for those that will invest in it, make sure that they are getting high res as they can get, and sending that to their marketing partners, or if they're doing it themselves, putting it on and making sure that that is on the website, that's the things they use on the Google business profile, on all their social media. It's now becoming important. It's now becoming more and more important because now Google is saying it's important. So we're making that leap.
Stock images are only going to take you so far. I mean, if you can't supply images to your marketing company, all that your marketing company can do is draw stick figures and, find stock photography or stock illustrations to stick on your website. And if you can put real pictures of real people in your business, real work that you've done before and afters and all of that on your site, you're already leaps and bounds ahead of most home service businesses.
Yeah. And I would say that is absolutely true. So with this in mind, next week we have a guest. We are going to bring in Amanda Law. Amanda is the photographer that we're using on the shoots that we are currently doing. She's really, really good. She's with Amanda Law Photography. She's out of Raleigh, North Carolina. And she's just exceptional. And the reason that I really like Amanda is threefold. Number one, she's very experienced in weddings. And you think, weddings, that's nothing like what we do. Well, actually, there's a lot of what y'all do is just like weddings. You got people running around everywhere doing all kinds of stuff, and what she does, her specialty is being what's called a second photographer, where she's not the one that's responsible for getting the wedding party pictures done. She's the one that's out there doing all the crowds and all the shots, and when people don't know they're looking and how they are and the different angles and stuff like that. So I really like that she's got that experience, and that's her favorite kind of photography to do at weddings. Though she does also do what's called the first position, which is all the stuff that you need for all the headshots and group shots and all that, which is good for your office. It's good for, the team members and all that kind of stuff. So she does that. So that's the second reason I like her. Well, I like her anyway. She's a good friend of ours. And the third thing that I love that she has a lot of experiences is in products. And so if you've got products, if you do, if you have the, some people we have the metalworks that you do, the different product shots and stuff that you need that need to be advertise. She's very experienced in that. And then she's going to talk a lot about some maybe shortcuts on if you can't hire a professional photographer, what you can do. If you are going to hire a professional photographer and it's not her, maybe we can ask her some of the things that she would look at. How would you vet somebody in your area? What are the things that you need to ask and some of those things. So she's going to be kind enough to be with us next week. So gather up your questions. If you have any questions you want to ask, make sure you're here to get her live, and we'll go from there. So
yeah, just a reminder that you can get the podcast now as audio version on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, your favorite player, as well as watching the video on Facebook and on YouTube. So check it out, share it with friends. If you're still on the call on the live stream and you haven't liked us or given us a heart, please do so. If you're watching on YouTube, you can also subscribe to our channel so that you get alerted every time we release new content there, including this live stream. So please do that, and then we're going to see you next week.
Well, hold on just a minute, because I just saw this and I think this is important. Because Chuck is saying so. I don't know why they just did that, but that's okay. Chuck is actually saying, so what you're saying is to save all the pictures you take daily, put in a file name, put on your website, and all marketing advertising you put out for consumption, and AI will search and move you forward. Start the habit now. Well, that's a yes and no, Chuck. What I'm saying is, while that's great, AI is looking for really, really good photography. So if you're not taking really good, clear, clean photography, AI may not pick it up and know what it is. So if you're not going to do that, you need to make sure you understand what the alt tags are and how to identify that photography so that you can know what that is. Did I explain that well enough, Carter?
The other thing to add is that images alone are not the thing that's going to move you to the forefront, but they're becoming more important, and they're a part of the mix in a way that they never have been before. So doing the work and getting in the habit, like you suggested, is absolutely the right move, the right thing to do, because it positions you for success as images become even more important in the near future.
Yeah, I think that's true. So we need to hire Spark to get the job done. Yes, but I am full for this year. We're taking jobs into next year.
You're talking about video. We're full.
Video and photography work. We're not doing any more. Amanda may be available. Y'all can talk to her about that when she's on next week. Video, we have filled our coffers for the year, mainly because we also have to have time to edit everything. So we are not overbooking on the shooting side. So we just decided not to do that. We have a certain limit, and so that's what we're holding fast to. But we're booking into next year, and that's okay. It's all right. This is going to be this way for a while. It just is.
All right, everybody, we're over time, so we're going to let you go. Thanks so much for being on, and we'll see you again next week. Taylor, I'm going to let you drive then.
Oh, you're going to let me say bye. All right. Bye, guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye, y'all.